Okay, hi. My name is jELeeoo, also known as Johann Birch. I have written and sold a book called What's Your Problem? This is the proof copy. The normal copy doesn't have this stuff across it. The link to buy it is down below on Amazon.com. It's really good. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about books. So yeah, today I just wanted to go over some books that I've read this year that I really liked. So yeah, I've been a very casual reader until recently. I thought that books were really boring with the exception of a few. And those were books that I read on my own time, but most of the time when I was reading, it was just because I was forced to by school, and nobody likes school reading. I've said it before, I'll say it again. But all that changed last Thanksgiving. I mentioned I have a disdain for reading, and then my uncle gave me. He's like, "Oh, you should read Ham on Rye by Charles Bukowski," and he gave me his copy, and sorry, I love the smell of old paper. I'll talk about it more in a second, but this book made me fall in love with reading, and I've been reading a lot of books since then. Yeah, it's my favorite book now. It's really good. I love it. I still need to give this back to him though. But my love for casual reading started in 5th grade when I bought the Odd Ones Out book. I know it's lame to buy a YouTuber book, but this is basically just his scripts accompanied with drawings. It has a lot of pictures in it. It's not, and it's honestly not the worst book I've ever read. And honestly, I don't think it's that bad. And I actually liked reading this. Even in 5th grade, I didn't like anything in 5th grade other than Zelda and Power Rangers. It's also surprisingly heavy. It's the same length in page count terms. It's the same length as mine, but it's a lot heavier. Actually, wait, let's see what's thicker. I think mine is thicker. Okay, that's a little weird, but it's a good book. It's not the best. It's a New York Times bestseller, but that's just because, it's the Odd Ones Out, and this came out when he was super popular. But yeah, it's not a bad book. I give it a 7 out of 10, Very harmless. I didn't finish it until recently, but I read a little bit of it when I was younger. The Hobbit by Tolkien, obviously. The Lord of the Rings trilogy of movies is some of my favorite movies of all time, and I watched the Hobbit trilogy and I was a little disappointed. And I heard dude, they made one book and into an entire trilogy of books. Yeah, that's right. All 3 Hobbit movies are just complete and total bullshit. It's one book you have to read, and it's a good book. This came out in 1937. Not this specific copy, but the original Hobbit book came out in 1937. And also, it's not Lord of the Rings is an epic fantasy tale, but the Hobbit is kind of just a bedtime fairy tale that's just super long. But it's good. I like it. It's a good book. 9 out of 10. It's good. Bomber. I love the way Tolkien names things. They're so funny. I don't have the Lord of the Rings. I don't have the Lord of the Rings books. Because I'm not gonna read those when the movies are so good. The only reason I have the Hobbit book is because the Hobbit movies aren't that good. So yeah. Okay, moving on to Ham on Rye for real now. I bought my own copy for two reasons. We'll get into the second reason in a second. But the first reason is that I like to put little sticky notes of just my thoughts when reading onto books. Almost every book I've read has sticky notes in it. Look at how much thicker Catcher in the Rye is from all the sticky notes I put in it. Almost every other page has a sticky note. But yeah, Ham on Rye by Charles Bukowski. Bukowski is kind of a controversial guy because he's probably America's most popular author, right next to Hemingway, I'd say. But he's pretty controversial because he said some things that are a little problematic, and he's done some things that are pretty problematic. He's most well known for being an alcoholic bastard man. And he writes a lot about his own life in his books. Ham on Rye is about his childhood, from ages 3 to 20. And he grew up during the Great Depression to an abusive family. So we get to read a lot about just slum life and the ridiculousness of just living the human life. But that's like what makes him so appealing. He like never minces his words. He's always very like upfront about just like how much he hates just like people in general. He hates men, he hates women, he hates fucking everybody. He hates working especially. If you're an anti-work person, definitely read this and his other book, Factotum, which I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, this is a very good book. Like it's very easy to pick up. The chapters in this book are also very short. Like chapters are normally like 3 to 5 pages in this book. And like that's why there's like 80 chapters in this book, but like there's just a lot to like. He's very good at writing as well. He's so well at just articulating his thoughts. It's very good. I'd recommend reading it, or just a Bukowski book with the exclusion. Any of his books except for one are really good. But yeah, I'd start reading Bukowski with this one if you're interested in the guy at all. I can't like put this in the camera at all. I'm so bad at that. My favorite book of all time, 10 out of 10. And then I immediately picked up Post Office, also by Bukowski. So the second reason I got the another version of Ham on Rye is because I can never find the alternative cover for Post Office, and I only ever found this one. So I bought this, and it's a part of a trilogy set. You see that? It spells his name. Anyways, Post Office was his first book. It's way shorter, but it's like the funniest thing ever. This is like one of the funniest books I've ever read. There's just so much humor in it. It's super short, it's well worded. It's about his time working at a post office for like 12 years. And again, it's really funny. Here, I'll read a paragraph for you right now. What's wrong with assholes, baby? You've got an asshole, I've got an asshole. You go to the store and buy a porterhouse steak, that had an asshole. Assholes cover the earth. In a way, trees have assholes, but you can't find them. They just drop their leaves. Your asshole, my asshole, the world is full of billions of assholes. The president has an asshole, the car wash boy has an asshole, the judge and the murderer have assholes. Even Purple Stickpin has an asshole. Oh, stop it, stop it! She heaved again. Small town. I opened the bottle of sake and had a drink. That's on page 87, if you're curious. But yeah, good book. The ending was kind of mind-blowing to me, for a reason I won't get into because I don't want to spoil it, but this is like one of the most... if you want to just like a good laugh from reading a book, I'd recommend this, Post Office by Charles Bukowski. Next up is Women. This is the third of the trilogy, and this is like the only Bukowski book that I just do not like. It's about him just like getting fame as a writer, and then he just sleeps with a lot of women. He has a lot of sex, and it's just about him like meeting all these fucking crazy fucking women, and it's really repetitive and boring, and I just do not like it. Don't read this one. It's like a 3 out of 10. The only thing really important is that like he meets his wife in this, who would end up being his future wife in this book. But even then, like, you're totally fine just skipping it. Just know that he meets a woman who's really nice and said, I could fix him, and actually fixed him. Yep, really boring. 3 out of 10. Would not recommend. You know what should have been a part of that trilogy? Factotum. Factotum is a lot like Ham on Rye. It picks up pretty much like, I think, a year after. Ham on Rye ends on the day of the Pearl Harbor attack. And Factotum is about him being denied draft into World War II. And him just like job hopping throughout World War II. It's really entertaining. It says a lot about American work culture even today, even though the book takes place in the 40s. It's really good. Also pretty short. I'm pretty sure this was his second novel. And also the book ends on a metaphor for the American work culture, while simultaneously being like the most violently imaged strip show ever. And it ends on a dick joke. It's really funny. 8 out of 10. Good book. Okay, the next one I read was Hollywood, also by Bukowski. I have all of his novels. I'm gonna get... don't worry, I've read other people. There's just a lot of Bukowski. So Bukowski wrote a screenplay for a movie called Barfly, and this book is about him, like, his experience in Hollywood writing that screenplay and stuff like that. It's pretty good. It's very interesting. This is the only novel of his to like where he's actually like married to his wife, and so things are very like he's not his usual self like in all of his other novels. But there's a lot of very interesting people Obviously he couldn't name like any like actual actors because he didn't want to get in any legal trouble, so everybody's like renamed. But it's pretty funny. There's a lot about, you know, just how fucking bizarre everybody is in Hollywood. How like execs are always trying to fuck over a movie for no reason. Well, I mean, the reason is money, but you know, it's funny, it's good. Solid 7 out of 10. For me, it's a little bit too lengthy. I think it goes on for a bit too long, but it's good. Next up, I read The Captain is Out to Lunch and the Sailors Have Taken Over the Ship. We're almost done with Bukowski, I swear. This is actually not a novel, but instead it's his diary from 1991 to 1993, and he died in 1994. But it's just his like little diary entries talking about like how much life has changed for him, because, you know, he grew up in the 70s and now because he grew up in like the 20s and now he's in the 90s. I just hiccuped. There's a few illustrations in here. They're pretty good. He talks a lot about going to the horse track. He was a huge gambler, and also just his wife, and just like, again, the ridiculousness of life. It's very interesting to just see like how much like his life has changed, and also to hear like this old man's perspective on like technology, because the first like huge bit of this, his diary is about how much technology has changed, because he just started his diary when he bought a computer for the first time. It was very interesting to see, and also he's talking about like how much he's deteriorated, how much his health has just declined over the years, because like he was starting to get sick and old. You know, he was like 75, I think, when he died, maybe. And for that reason, I finished reading Bukowski's shit with Pulp, his last novel. It came out like very shortly before he died, and it's his only novel to not be about his real life. It's his only novel to be completely fictional. It's about this private detective who just gets like a bunch of weird cases and just a bunch of inexplicable things happen. But it's very entertaining, and it's like 200 pages. It's pretty short. I really like the cover. I wonder if you can tell what inspired my book's cover, but it's good. I liked it a lot. It was very funny. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. The ending confused me a little. Okay, we're finally done with Bukowski. We can move on to like actual other books now. Let's start with the first non-fiction book I've ever read, Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. This is a great book if you just want to like be artistic in any capacity. Put a link in the description to the video that like inspired me to get this book. It's an interview with the author, Austin Kleon. But this book tells you like how to just like be creative and stuff like that, and like how inspiration exactly works. Like is it worth stealing? Yes, no, move on to the next thing. There's a lot of pictures too. It's a very short book. You can easily read it all in like 2 hours. But there's a lot of good advice. I'm trying to look for one specific thing. Now, he says steal like an artist because there's just it's like the book between plagiarism and inspiration. Like plagiarism is just copying something, while inspiration is taking things from many, 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 many things. You see it right there. Bad theft is stealing from one, and good theft is stealing from many. For example, Fight Club is a really good movie. Mr. Robot is my favorite show of all time, and steals a lot from Fight Club, but it transforms a lot of things from it too. Like it makes a lot of huge different things. That, near the end, it's totally different. Same could be said for like How I Met Your Mother and Friends. It's just, there's a lot. Good book, 10 out of 10. Very short and worth the read. I don't know how much it is though. I don't know if it's worth the price though. All of the books I've talked about so far are decently expensive in terms of books, but I bought them all myself except for this one. This was a birthday gift. Alright, next up is Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis. Bret Easton Ellis is the guy who wrote the book for American Psycho, and apparently a lot of his books have been turned into movies, including this one. Less Than Zero was his first book. It's about a college guy coming home for holiday and just like partying around. And much like American Psycho, it's a very dark book. This book is even like way more fucked up than American Psycho. There's just, oh my god. I don't want to read it again. It's a great book. I would not read it again though, because it's just, there's so much fucked up shit in it. There is a sequel to this book called Imperial Bedrooms, which I'm interested in, but I don't know. I'm gonna wait a little bit before reading any more Bret Easton Ellis' stuff. Apparently he was like super young when he made that book too. He was like 21 when it came out. I'm 18 and I wrote my first book at 18 years old. I was 17 when I started writing it. All right, next up is Catcher in the Rye. I never read it in school, so it was a good chance for me to read it. And also it's about how like growing up fucking sucks. And when I read this, I was in that phase of my life where I was like, I really don't want to be an adult. It's pretty good. It's very long. Its wording is a little weird, but I liked it a lot. It was very boring in the middle of the book, but like near the end it really picked up. Honestly, if you're getting bored, I'd recommend just skipping the chapter entirely if you're bored, like reading a chapter. But let me tell you, chapter 21. Chapter 21 is where shit really picks up. But yeah, good book, solid 8 out of 10. I really like the morals and like how much it still stands up today for a book that came out in 1951. It's a really good it's like a really good coming of age story. All right, this is the book that I'm currently reading through. Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises. This is Hemingway's first book, and I was always interested in Hemingway, but I just now got into him. He's a good author. I'm on chapter 18 out of 19. I'm almost done with this book. But so far, I'm really liking it. It's about a group of World War I veterans just taking a trip to Spain. And this book coined the term "the lost generation," which is really cool. And it does have a lot to say of just about like a loss of tradition and innocence in the world, and just like how fucked things are. But it's really good. I would recommend it. So far, 9 out of 10. Again, I haven't finished reading it. Okay, the next 3 books I have bought, but I have not read. They are next on my list. The Old Man and the Sea, also by Hemingway. This one's a lot shorter. I know it's about like a fisherman, obviously. Although for some reason, this version I bought, in the middle of the book, it just goes to, there's like 3 pages that are laminated, completely different material, and they're just like about Hemingway, like himself, not like any of the characters. It's just about Hemingway, which I think is really funny. But I don't know, I'm excited to get into it. Next is To Kill a Mockingbird. I also never read this in school. I read The Outsiders in school. I really liked that. And then like the rest of the school books I had to read, I did not like. But I heard a lot of good things about To Kill a Mockingbird, and it was on sale at Barnes & Noble. So I bought it, and I'm excited to read page 174 of it. Next up is Of Mice and Men. I actually did read this in school, and I liked it so much that I decided to buy it again because it was like super cheap. Like, look at how small this book is. And this is also a Penguin Classics. I'll make a video about them some other time, but Penguin Classics is really cool. Like, they're a publishing group, and all the books they publish are really good. But also, like, specifically their editions are like the ones to have. I'm voice cracking. So yeah, those are all the books on my bookshelf. I've read more books, obviously, and I've read a lot of manga. So much manga. But those are all the books that I've read on my bookshelf, and I just kind of wanted to go over them and talk about like how awesome they are. So yeah. And of course, I'm going to talk about What's Your Problem by Johann Birch. He's this really cool up-and-coming author. Like, this book came out this year, pretty recently. And like, it's about this guy going through a divorce, and like he is just having the worst time, but it's very humorous. Genuinely a 10 out of 10 book. It's very short, it's easy, and it's on Amazon right now. It's almost as if the link is in the description. It's really good. I'd recommend it. Anyways, yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you liked it. Please buy my book. Yeah. Bye.